Jerad was doing some amazing stuff back then, and now he's progressed way beyond that, of course. But Jerad has worked on a ton of films, and he's going to talk a little bit about some of the work he's done and do a little demo. So everyone give a warm applause for Jerad Marantz.
Hello. So,
yeah, all right.
I'm used to screaming. Okay, so I brought in quite a few examples of the work I do. I'm also, of course, going to cover the 10 points that you should know as a concept artist, things that are important to know. First of all, let's do a bit of introduction. Again, I'm Jerad S Marantz. I specialize in feature, character design, and costume design. I'm currently the lead artist at the Jerand company, and I have about 14 years of experience working in both film and video games. So it's been a while. Brief history, I started in very low budget special effects houses. I used to really want to do everything. And that kind of changed after I tried everything. So I tried, I actually got in very early because as I mentioned, I was a sculptor back in the day. Now I mainly work in Zbrush. I don't really touch clay much anymore. But I was able to get my foot through the door at several low-budget special effects houses. Did a lot of direct-to-DVD movies, did a lot of gore, and a lot of, my first film was a Disney Channel movie, when I was just a kid. So I tried sculpting, I tried mold making, pouring up molds, being exposed to all kinds of fun chemicals, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And I stuck with design. I ended up going to Pasadena Art Center to really learn illustration, really learn drawing. A lot of people don't realize this, but the sculpting is actually much easier than drawing. Painting. You open up a bag of clay, you have light, form, and dimension. You're good to go. You just have to push it around and make sure it looks like what it's supposed to look like. On paper, you literally have to create things out of the void, so it's a bit more challenging. Let's see, what else? Oh, okay, I got some film credits. So I've done Clash of the Titans. I was the lead designer, creature character designer on Clash of the Titans. I'm going to show you guys some images and some process from that movie. That's the only good project I can actually show you. But I do have a bunch of stuff coming out. I spent a lot of time on the new Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man 2012, Transformers 3, X-Men First Class, which is pretty damn good. Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, I hope that's good. I was also a lead artist on Sucker Punch, and I recently got off of Snow White and the Huntsman for Universal, and I spent a good solid 2 years on Green Lantern. But again, I can't really show that stuff. But I have a lot of direct-to-DVD crap, you guys. Studios that I've worked for, practical effects. Right out of school, I worked for Stan Winston's when there was a Stan Winston's. It was quite an honor. Then later, a little bit for Legacy Effects, Amalgamated Dynamics Incorporated. That's a great studio. They did Starship Troopers, several of the Alien movies. I think two of the Alien movies, and Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem. And I've done work for Timsby Studio, and of course, currently I am the lead designer at the Jerand company. Video games. The titles I've worked on so far have been Pablo Rasa. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. Yeah. Really? Didn't heard of it? Lineage Forever, briefly, Silent Hill Origins, and recently, I get to actually show some of this work. I designed a lot of the creatures for Infamous 2 for Summer Punch, Sony games. That is video games. Make an okay time. All right, so So let's talk about technique. That's scrap reference. Technique. I used to do a ton of these. I have sheets and sheets of these. There are 141 concepts on this page. Any of them I can take into Photoshop, blow up, and paint over, and resolve in grayscale. Drawing small not only helps you draw more quickly, but it makes proportions, for some reason, for me at least, proportions seem a lot easier for me when you're drawing this small. Plus, the most important thing is you're able to get through the bad ideas really fast. When you sit down to draw, unless you've been drawing nonstop for several days, your first drawings will suck. There's no way around it. But if you draw small, you can get through those bad drawings really fast and get on to the good ones. You can see this is just one of those doodles blown up, and I can quickly add some atmosphere, darken the page, and build up my highlights, add some photo elements, create a cool character. You can create a character just by using grayscale. You can create an entire scene using atmospheric perspective. Line and atmosphere. Doodles. See, I'm going too redundant, drawing small. Working in grayscale, staining with color. This is very common in video games. Also semi-common in film. So this great thing about Photoshop, you can scan in a decent drawing, render the hell out of it. Or you can scan in a bad drawing, render the hell out of it. Similar result. Having a solid drawing will anchor you. Time is always an issue. That's why drawing is so important. Because it's so efficient, because it's so fast. If you can draw well, you can work quickly, more efficiently. You have that solid anchor. Very important. Good sketches. Here's another example of pipeline. I think I've got a few sequentials in here. Here you can see the doodle, resulting in grayscale, staining in color. I would just add some photo elements to this, gray out the background. I could get that to read as 3D fairly quickly. Studies, quick doodles. Before you start, these are actually some class demos. Gesture studies, mood studies, and resulting in character in grayscale, which is also pretty fun. Oftentimes I'm working 12, even longer hours during the day. And I think what helps me last is using many disciplines to execute designs. I can resolve the design in line, full grayscale. I can photo bash on top of grayscale. I can start with a photo and paint over it. I can model it in Zbrush. I can add photos to models in Zbrush. I can model an entire composition quickly in Google SketchUp and paint over it. Having different ways to work keep the job interesting. And a lot of this is about endurance, resolving the design. A little further. Every now and then I like to try a piece without photos. No reason to really do that these days. It's just trying to make sense of my student loan payments. Really. But don't let your pride get in the way. Be fast, be good. And of course, you get that from a traditional foundation. Here's another quick progress piece. Sketch, creating grayscale, starting to stain with color. A lot of really fun pipeline stuff. Introducing a solid drawing, staining with burnt sienna. Great painters, most of the great painters, started with burnt sienna, so it's a great foundation to work with, to paint with. You want to start with color if you're going to work in color. A lot of guys are good enough to just start black and white and make sense of it, and I don't know. Same process. Resolving a character in grayscale, refining it, painting with color. Now again, Photoshop is an amazingly forgiving medium. This piece actually started off as a redesign of a troll from Willow, ended up being darkness. But here you can see sequentially the process. Darkness for legend, adding color, a little bit of photo elements here and there. Going home, realizing I don't have anything pretty in my book. This is what I wanted to do, card art. Final piece. So you can see very humble beginnings. You can take anything to finish in Photoshop. Awesome. Having a solid drawing always helps. It still needs some work. But you can see just staining with color, adding some photo elements, painting over it. Here's a valuable sequential. So we have rough sketch, a little bit of grayscale, lowering the opacity, drawing over it, refining the drawing. Then what I'll do is I'll actually paint under the drawing. I'll turn the drawing layer into a multiply layer and resolve it in grayscale. Then I'll start to integrate more tone. I'm sorry, this is getting cut off here. More tone and color. Staining with burnt sienna. I'll use photo elements, just a photo for a palette. And dark. Process can be used for humans as well, humanoid characters. And this is very, very common in video games. This was actually started with a photo. Painted over it, slapped some jellyfish textures on it, hope for the best, and walked out. Same thing here. This is a lot of rhino butt. And here is the pipeline. Oops, let's go back to that. So here you can see I start off with a photo of a person, liquefy it, start to slap some sea life over him, liquefy again, adjust my lighting, atmosphere. I can do one of these in about an hour. And a quick example of doing that in 3D. So we have a basic pipeline. We've got a grayscale piece, staining it with color, adding photo elements, relighting it, and if there's crunch time, motion blur, noise, and smoke will save your ass, and they always fall for it. So it works. So let's see what this looks like in 3D. So essentially, the 3D is just your tone work. That's it. I will go into Zbrush, I will do a quick sculpt like this. You can start this to nothing. You can start this with Z-spheres. Very quick. I don't even really need to re-apologize ever because I'm painting over things so heavily. So this becomes my rough sketch. I can do this fairly quickly. And then I start to take different material passes using in Zbrush 4 best preview render, which is amazing. You get really nice shadows when taking the ambient off and Z mode out. Those of you who are familiar with ZBrush. And I'll take different material passes. I'll also take different lighting passes. I'll start to overlay them one on top of the other in Photoshop until I have a really nice base. So here you have different colors. I took a rim light pass, and I just started combining things, and you just start painting. There we go. Wait. There we go. So here you can see I liquefied the head, I elongated the tentacles on his chin, started to add some photo elements, a lot of airbrushing. I am not going to be limited to the model. I can use every single step to correct it, to make it better. Adding tattoos, going with purples, really refining the palette. Something about cataracts that I always end up doing. Adding more wrinkles. And this is an old woman's chin, just over and over and over again. Now, the trick is you have to understand how skin wrinkles. Wrinkles occur due to use. That's why you have wrinkles in crow's feet. That's why babies are born with wrinkles around their nuts. They can use it. So it's not just anatomy. It's understanding collagen, understanding how we age. It's all very relevant. paint over, and then you're final. Quick relay. Very efficient way to work. Now, let's discuss the importance of reference. Now, when I start working on a project, I will create a collage. The collage, the process of actually looking for those photos, helps me generate ideas, and every single thing that I'm going to combine for the multiple designs that I'm going to create, I'll try to isolate to one page. I'll never reference things that are unnatural. I will never reference concept art. I will never reference bodybuilders in the drawing phase. Bodybuilders do not occur in nature. If I need something strong, I'll look at an Olympic weightlifter or a rhino, something that exists. Other examples of just reference collages that I will organize before jumping onto a design. So not only will I be drawing from these in the grayscale phase or modeling from them in Zbrush, but I'll also actually cut and paste photo elements from these collages into my piece. I can also get the entire palette for a piece from one of these photos. Knowing your anatomy is insanely important. I've been studying anatomy now for 20 years, and I still don't know it well enough. So I have all these cheat sheets around me. My skeleton drawing. This was done for, this is taken from an atlas of human anatomy by Goldfinger. Goldfinger is my favorite when it comes to anatomy books. He most accurately defines anatomy. In other books, anatomy is overstated to illustrate it more clearly, but muscles are essentially just sheets that are thick in the center and taper as they become tendons and anchored bone. You have to think of them in those terms. If you think of them as the masses portrayed in a lot of anatomy books, then there isn't that much room to put skin over your figure. This book is amazing. It actually shows, fat pads and everything you need to know. Basic surface anatomy. Love this. All of this is useless unless you can draw a decent stick figure. This is taken from Figure Drawing Girl's work from Andrew Loomis. Love these. And Elliot Goldfinger, animal drawing, animal anatomy for artists. Beautiful, beautiful sketches. Very accurate. So you need to know human anatomy, you need to know creature anatomy, and you need to know how to break it down. This is an animation book for animals. Yeah, what it's called, but it's awesome. I'll try to remember. All right, that's reference. Let's work on a demo. Oh, one more thing. Development, very quickly. As I mentioned before, one of the few things that I think got me hired right off the bat is that I have a book full of original content. I love writing. I write on the side quite a bit. These are some of my own properties. Been working on these since junior high. Development of a character. Brought it into Zbrush. Made a photoreal. I will eventually pitch this work, but it keeps me going when work is slow. Fun stuff. Also, it's a great way to fill in those gaps in your portfolio. You really won't be hired to do anything that's not in your book. That's key. If you really want to do something very specific in concept art, make sure you have a portfolio full of it. Because no one's going to take a gamble on you, especially if you're asking for a decent rate. This is for an animated series I'm writing currently and could be pitching soon this year. Multiple styles, really valuable. If film doesn't pan out and there's another writer's strike or something terrible happens, I can either jump into video games or maybe try animation. Of course, there's a writer's strike that can affect animation as well. But you can see very different styles, still very interesting. Different character designs have a wide range of techniques and abilities to display in a portfolio. Show your clients exactly what you can do. A portfolio is essentially a menu of what you can do for your clients. And a portfolio is actually an amazing tool for feeling out your clients. My mood boards, scenes, very important. as I was saying before, I want to make sure I'm covering 10 good things. A portfolio you really want to fill with not just key images, but solid process. That is really important. Show clients what your work looks like from beginning, middle, to end. Show them what your process looks like and what they can expect. A responsible client will not hire you to do something that isn't in your book. Also, look at your client while he's going through your book. If he focuses on your drawings, he can read a drawing. If he's only focusing on your really tight stuff, you're going to have to just do tight stuff. That's why having all those examples of what you can do in a book is so important. You're going to know how to work for this particular client. It's essential. What else? Idea generation. That's a good one. Okay, so we talked about, let me just go into my demo here. Generating ideas. So one way I start generating, one way you can start generating ideas are actually in the gathering of reference. When I'm looking through reference and I'm trying to think of all these elements that I'm going to combine for a design, I'm thinking of ideas. Now, oftentimes, you actually have to do maybe 5 sketches a day. The easiest thing to do is based on what the director wants, what the client wants, is to take a Post-it note and literally write 5 quick descriptions of what you're going to design. You have to do some kind of werewolf, for example. You got to do 5 of them right off the bat, instead of just trying to come up with one idea after another. Come up with all of them. Start combining things. Original design occurs in 3s, no longer 2s. We've already done 2s. The original werewolf, part man, part wolf. Gillman, part man, part fish. Got to add that 3rd element to get the original design out these days. So if you're doing a werewolf, for example, part man, part wolf, with the body type of maybe a racing dog, body type of a hyena, bat elements, you simply write them down and go through the list as you're concepting. That always gets me through. And if you're a visual person, if you think in images, if I say bat werewolf, the majority of people who want to be concept artists can already kind of visualize what that might look like and work from there. That's how people are able to do tons of designs in a day. Control A. All right. So what I'm going to do in a half hour is I'm going to try to crank out an image. I'm going to work in grayscale. I'm going to try to stain with color and add photo elements. I'm going to see what happens. This could be rough. All right. So let's go in. I just want to show an intelligent character. Not sure exactly what I want. I want alien. I want weird, maybe a little aggressive. So here I've just thrown a reference collage together. I've got my human reference. I've got some exotic fish, anglers, rhinos, and I want it to read as intelligence. I've got humans and primates, which of course are often referenced. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so I'm going to start with a soft brush. Not too soft, I still want a nice edge on it. And that's easier. Here, nice size. You can start off with a very low resolution. You can work around 172 dpi. If you need to sketch quickly, you can always bump up the resolution later as you need to describe things like tear ducts and pores if it comes to that. So I'm going to drag my reference onto this screen. Okay, so you can't actually see my reference there, but I can. So I'm just going to be drawing from it. This is going to help me stay in the realm of reality. I think too many concept artists tend to draw out of their heads too early and end up repeating themselves, and their work lacks a level of realism. It doesn't feel grounded in reality. And that's very important, especially if you're creating an illusion of a character that could exist. Comfortable here. Let's see, what other points can I mention? A traditional foundation is always insanely important, so I think we covered that. Using reference, anatomy, drawing skills, I mentioned that. Idea generation, yes. Know at least 2 3D programs, that. Know Photoshop is very clear. Portfolio is clear. All right, so I can talk about networking. Networking is a very necessary skill. I was fortunate enough to know that I wanted to do this at a young age. Started networking at a young age. All of my success comes from 10 years of getting to know people, talking to people while getting adequate. Good job. Places like seminars, schools are great opportunities for networking. And a lot of mistakes students make is they don't start networking early enough. If you know what you want to do, there is no reason why you should be bugging clients or contacting studios right now, figuring out what their portfolio requirements are, and catering your portfolio to getting those positions, getting those jobs. A lot of students make the mistake of waiting too long. That black, there we go. And it takes them maybe 6 months sometimes to get a job outside of school. That's no good. All right, so let's see. I want something. I want to do some weird, intelligent humor. Anyone wants to ask me questions, now would be a good time.
In terms of portfolio,
A little louder.
in terms of the portfolio, aside from just finished work, orthographics, and like sketching and process, is there anything else like for someone who specifically wants to do characters that they should focus on?
Costumes. Costumes are really important. A lot of human characters, especially in games, you can see fine details, facial expressions, stuff like that. The majority of the character is going to need costume. The costume is a reflection of that character. The costume is a representation of the choices that character makes to represent himself. So costume designs are essential. And when I say costume designs, I mean a new design every time. I think students tend to get repetitious too early on, and they don't spend enough time starting from scratch. So they have a lot of portfolios, and will be filled with one character with a ton of different paper cutout costume options. Redraw the figure as often as you possibly can. Repetition will actually fill a portfolio and make it boring to look at, even if the work itself is good. So yeah, costume is very important. I do a lot of costume. I actually did a lot of design work for the costume in the new Spider-Man movie. Didn't design the sneakers, but can't really show that work until it comes out. Did a little bit of costume on new G.I. Joe right now. A show like that is all costume, vehicles. Any other questions? Any questions? Just hit me with it.
Where did you learn Photoshop? Was that more on the job, or did you study it?
That was on the job, yeah. I learned it I learned most of Photoshop at video game companies, at NCSoft. It was still on paper for some reason, and kind of knew Photoshop when I started. They took a gamble hiring me because I showed up with like a portfolio full of drawings and maquettes, like actual sculptures. I don't know why I got that job. But Photoshop was, I learned that mainly on the job. I learned 3D on the job. The best thing I got from school was the traditional foundation, so that when I learned the programs, I would be able to think of them in terms of traditional medium, and I get through them. When it comes to studying new programs, when you have a traditional foundation, the only thing you have to get through is the interface.